the very essence of the sun in the very core of your being. And just notice if there are some parts of you that are now not able to relax. It's okay, just notice. And notice that these aspects, these parts of you, are not problems. They're parts of you that need help. And we're here for those two things. So open your eyes again. We're here for those two things. And coming from our human experience, we may say, well, first of all, we're here to bring some help to those parts of us that need help. But then because of heart sourcing, we understand where the most powerful medicine will come from. It comes from that innermost aspect of our being. So who has a challenge, something that's uncomfortable, something that really needs help? Who wants to offer this to us so we can use that as an example of what we all can do? Andreas?
For me, it's something with my visa situation. I didn't know.
With your what?
With my visa.
Uh-huh.
How can I stay? Can I stay? Can I stay longer or not?
So what is the feeling? There's these thoughts about the facts of your visa. You're
Yes.
here on a tourist visa or something,
Yes.
right? And this is expiring and you want to stay here.
Yes.
So there's all those facts and the thoughts about those facts. But then when you go just looking at the thoughts now, you look at the surface level of, what do I do about my visa and how can I get to stay and so on. You go a little bit deeper and you say, okay, so what does all of this reflect?
It's a lot of worry.
Worry, yeah. So what is the worry about? On the surface, again, it's about your visa and your stay and where I'm going to be and so on. But let's go deeper. What is the worry really? When the worry comes, what is the button that's being pushed? Maybe an ancient button that's much older than this particular situation.
This feeling about not knowing how it works, how it goes.
So a sense of insecurity, right? Insecurity. Is that the right word? What would be the right word?
Anxiety.
So while he's thinking, it's like we're just defining what's going on, right? So you feel like you're out of sorts, and of course what that does is it makes it immediately impossible for you to be at peace in the heart, right? Because now you're worried. Now something else is going on. So we need to pay attention to that. And the first thing that we usually do is we don't like that, right? I'll come back to that. Meanwhile, simply it's there, right? So we want to educate ourselves here a little bit. What is actually going on in me? And we just need to know that this is our spiritual growth. This is not, oh, I have my spiritual growth when I'm not worried about anything. Oh, no. Spiritual growth is when you deal with the worry or the fear or the pain or the disgust or the despair or the whatever, the suicidal tendency, when you deal with that in a way that it elevates you. That it elevates you, meaning that so-called problem, that challenge, serves you to awaken further. So, do you have the right word? What's happening there with this visa worry?
It's like a panic also. It's
A panic, a sense of panic. Okay, right. Now, when was approximately the first time in your life when you felt that type of panic? How old roughly were you?
Four or 5 years old.
I'm sorry?
4 or 5 years old.
Old, right, 4 or 5 years old, right? So obviously this is not the first time around. Obviously this is an old pattern, right? Now, the invitation, of course, is for all of you to look at the same thing. You know, what is on the surface, what worries you? And go deeper and see, what is this all about? And how old is this pattern? You know, for some of you, it may just be a situational thing. But for many of us, it is probably an old pattern. So this is a panic feeling, a panic sensation, right? So what do we do with that? In the past, we've done one of 4 things with that. This is universal, right? Something happens and it's very uncomfortable. And the old reptilian brain immediately jumps into fight or flight, right? We're trying to fight it off, to repress it down, to, if we don't know any better, we actually start a conflict in our world with somebody else, and we displace it onto something else, right? And that's a way to distract yourself from the actual issue, which is really a type of flight, of escape, right? All the addictions are types of escapes, the watching too much TV, eating too much, all of these things that we use not to feel what is actually going on. Now, the trick is, and maybe that's understandable, that if we want to change something, we first have to actually encounter it. We don't even get that far when fight or flight kicks in, right? But it's not just that we do fight or flight, we have some more evolved strategies, like fight or flight is the old reptilian brain way back here. So that's ancient, but the frontal part of the brain does 2 other things. It does indulging and complaining. So we have fight, flight, indulge, and complain. FFIC. Very nice little formula. When you find yourself stressed out about something, ask yourself, am I doing FFIC? And you may be doing one or the other, or maybe all 4 of them. Why not, for good measure? And then you can ask yourself, how well is this working for me? Because obviously with FFIC, with fight, flight, indulge, and complain, you just get stuck with the problem. So, ancient pattern of panic, this panicky sense, right? So the first thing we do, we already did this today here, we actually allow ourselves to feel what's actually going on. We did this little relaxation at first and we noticed, there may be something that we can't quite shed, we can't go past it, it's still bugging us a little bit. So, there it is. So we show up with that, right? We open up to that. We pay attention. All pain is a call for attention. So then we notice, there it is. So how does that feel in the body? That's the next question, because when it's emotions, it shows up in the body. When it's thoughts, they're more cerebral, so they're not necessarily bringing up any feelings. Those are emotions. So in your case, with this old panic feeling, what's the sensation in the body?
There is one thing in the stomach, it goes around, and also in the brain. It's like not really clear. I can't think really clear.
Right. So it's confusion
like,
in the stomach, or what is in the stomach? It's not confusion.
In stomach, it goes around. It's not.
So churning.
Yes.
Yeah, churning in the stomach, and not a clarity or lack of clarity in the mind. But which one is stronger? The mind. So is that now, are you, when you go to the mind or to your head, is that about thoughts? Because we have thoughts and we have emotions. We want to, it's like separate them. They're not exactly the same.
It's more emotion.
More emotion in the head. So you feel that kind of sense of disturbance, let's just say. Okay, very good. So I would just go with that. Right? So we pick the one disturbance. If there are several areas of disturbance, we pick the one that's most pronounced, right? Now, whether it's in the mind, whether it's in emotions, whether it's, through emotions in the body, we have identified that since you were 4 or 5. We've identified that as something that's very unpleasant, and therefore you want to get rid of it. And of course you do. But the question is how? Fight, flight, indulge, and complain. You can look at your history, how well this has worked, and you will find that it's never worked. And still we do it all the time automatically. So we have this pattern in the mind that just wants to go there because it's so used to going there, to rejecting it, right? And that is based on one particular unconscious belief, which is that somehow this unpleasant experience we're having is something like a threat or an enemy, something we have to get free of, or we have to get rid of. And what we've done in that way of thinking and being has not worked for us. So we need to understand that what we're dealing with, in your case, this old pattern of falling into that sense of panic, that this is not a threat or an enemy, that this is a part of us that needs help. And this is a change in understanding. Many of you have heard me say this many times, and it's okay to hear it again, because we have unconsciously reacted in this negative way so many times that it's okay to hear it a number of times. Part of me that needs help. With that insight, some tidal shift happens. And suddenly, rather than going to war with it or indulging or complaining about it, which is all hostile ways of being, a compassionate approach becomes possible. So if it's a part of you that needs help, that's a whole different story. Now, the essence of that is this. Here you have this part of you that needs help, whatever that is for you. So make it personal. For you, it's panic. For everyone else, it's something else. Even if you call it panic, it will feel different for you than it feels for Andreas. So you have this discomfort here, right? Whatever it is. Now, what is the most powerful medicine? What is the most powerful antidote to this? In the very core of your being, you have the source of absolute unconditional love, of the peace that passes all understanding, as it says in the Bible, of a joy that knows no opposite and needs no cause, because that is in the very core of your being what you are. And this is present in every human being. But we spend so much time over there that we have no idea this is even here. In our culture, this is not known. And to discover this is the essence of yoga. It is the essence of all spiritual endeavor, because this is your true identity. The source of this love, to just pick one of those words, the source of this boundless awareness, timeless awareness, is really beyond time and space. But it is available in the very core of our being. Now, we got still this hanging out here, right? This little old panic issue or whatever it is, right? Yeah, it's a part of us that needs help, okay? So now we recognize it's there. We have to come actually to acknowledge it, to be with it. To say, yes, okay, here it is. I open up to it, I pay attention. Now I look for the medicine. Over there. Now, of course, what I'm doing is I'm taking something that might be inside of me and I'm just making a picture of it here with my hands, right? So this is the very core of our being. If this discomfort, in your case it's up in the head, right? But if this discomfort is like right here in the chest, which it can be, even if we say words like, I have a heavy heart, my heart is broken, I'm heartbroken, and so on, right? That sense of unconditional, all-embracing love and complete clarity is always interior to it. We could not exist without it. And if you don't have any experience of what I'm saying, or aren't aware that you have an experience of what I'm saying, I would question if you think that you don't know what I'm saying, because everyone has touched that here or there, but you may not be aware that you have touched on it, right? Then just say, well, this guy is saying something. Let me figure it out. Let me see if I can find the experience of that. This is not an article of belief, what I'm saying. I'm pointing to something that can be a direct experience, and only then has it any value for you. So now we're here, we have this challenge, this old pattern of pain. And we have this place in the core of us that has the remedy. Now, that has been there all along, but may have not known about it. We certainly didn't know how to use it. And now we're aware of this issue, right? Well, what a fantastic thing, because that issue now becomes the receiver for this gift, for this medicine. So we need to have an issue, in a sense, to start exploring the very core of our being. If everything's hunky-dory and fine and great, well, we don't need anything. Everything's fine. Why change? Why wake up? Why do anything when everything's fine? That's why I'm saying to deal with our problems is our spiritual unfolding, right? So here you have this old panic, this ancient old pattern, right? And here now somebody's pointing out the medicine is right here, in your very core. So connect the two. In your case, this is in the head, right? And you have the medicine right here. This medicine, this spiritual essence of your being, has a quality like the sun. It is just effortlessly radiating. You don't have to create this. It's just, that's its nature. Just like the sun is the center of our solar system, this inner essence is the center of your being. And it just radiates. So allow this sun in the heart to radiate into this muddy, disturbed sensation in the mind. Just let it radiate there. Now there's two parts to that involved. One is that you have in you what you need. It's already fully in place. The second thing you need is the thing that needs that medicine. Because without that need, the medicine, the peace, everything's just hanging out there, but you won't even notice because you're too busy having a good time in your person, your persona, your ego, mind, body existence. But when the persona is not working too well, like when it has panic, right, then it wants something. And now it inspires you to seek the medicine. So you're letting this radiate into that disturbance. So that's one thing. This is the giver of love, right? The giver of this essence, of this peace. But the giver needs to have the receiver. Both are inside of you. And usually for us, we need to know that we have the remedy inside of us. This is important that we know that and that we can settle into that and eventually really feel it more and more. But in any way you try to get in touch with it, any way is good. And this, we work a lot with this image of the little sun inside of the core of your being. And it radiates effortlessly into this disturbance up here in your case. So what's the second part that's important then is to actually receive it. To receive this healing, this powerful heart energy in the place of the pain. So let's try that for a moment. Let's have you focus on that which is wrong, so to speak, or you have identified as wrong, as a problem before, that part of you that needs help. So find that. If you need to close your eyes, do that. Find that in your body. Where is that feeling, that tension, that anxiety, that old jealousy, that despair, that whatever? And just step into that for a moment so you can feel it a little. And say yes to that. Yes, there you are. You're a part of me that needs help. And the remedy is in the deepest part of the heart. So allow that heart essence in your mind's eye to radiate into that place of the discomfort. And receive it there. Receive it, open yourself to it. Like after a long, cold winter, the first sunny day, and you're lying out in a field or on the beach, and you open yourself to the sun, and you let the warmth of the sun penetrate down into your very bones, into the very marrow of your bones. You take in this amazing essence of the heart. And it's not about getting rid of it. It's about opening it up to this great love in you. This great love that can love for the sake of loving. This great and profound kindness of your being. And you find that you are the lover and the beloved in one. And since you are the source and the receiver of love in one, opening to love is the most safe thing you can do in the world. It is absolutely safe. Open yourself to your love. Open yourself to this boundless peace in you, beyond any thoughts, beyond any emotions, beyond any sense of separation at all. And then you realize how this old or new pain is actually serving you right now. That it evokes in you this place of love. That it is this place of discomfort that calls forth the ultimate comfort. That brings to your attention this unlimited gift in the core of your being. it takes you into the awareness of this divine essence in your heart. It brings to you the remedy. It brings to you the awareness of your true being. It opens to you the door to a love that is always there, always available. And then when it has done its job, maybe after making you repeat this experience of the heart shining like the sun for exactly the right amount of times, then that so-called problem can dissolve. And you are left with an awareness of the heart, an awareness of this source of love in you that will remain. And where you begin by finding this love, finding the gateway to this love in your innermost heart. After some time, you will find it everywhere. You will not be limited to a place or a time. You will discover it everywhere at all times. You will discover that it is your very being, and your being is one with it all. This peace will be with you in the greatest turmoil of life. This love will free you of any fear whatsoever. And life continues with its ups and downs, its pleasures and pains, its abundance and its scarcity. And deep in your core, nothing changes whatsoever. This peace reigns supreme. And you can be with you in this love, undisturbed, while life goes on. So let's take a deep breath. So,
It's much lighter.
much lighter.
More relaxed. There is your point. I work in a different way with my head.
Mhm.
But there is something. It's like a pulse, and he don't like to give up the control.
Yeah, right. So now you're talking about what we call the pain body, the old habits. See, the habits of pain, in your case, this panicky feeling, and this comes in waves, off and on it comes, and it finds its cause. Now you can say, oh, I'm panicky because of that. But really you're panicky because you're panicky, and you're panicking about something that you found to be panicky about. Right? So the panic wants to keep on being panicky because this is what informs the ego, oh, I am the one who gets panicky about certain things, right? Now I know who I am. So the ego loves this stuff. And the ego does not want to get free of it, right? So we have an old ingrained habit. And habits are created by repetition. And this is why heart sourcing isn't done when you do it one time. Because no matter, for some of us, this can be very powerful sometimes. And we can say, oh, this was like wonderful. And now the mind says, oh, let's go to the next thing. What's the next book I want to read? Right? That's not the idea. It's like saying, oh, mantra. Yeah, I know mantra. I've done it once. The idea is in the repetition, in the building of a habit, the building of a habit that is helping you or allowing you to live increasingly in this rock solid place of safety and love in the core of your being. And that can then replace the other habits that you have that automatically pull you out of the heart, back into the mind, back into old emotional worries and patterns, right? So it's a matter of repetition. Repeating something that is the most powerful medicine for whatever ails you. It's not the only medicine, don't get me wrong, let's not be fundamentalists, right? There's all kinds of things we can do. But heart sourcing goes to the very core of the most powerful remedy that we have in us. And it opens the path for us to that place of love in us. So, okay, I've done my thing. Now it's your turn. Any questions? Any comments? Any observations? In a sense, it's like I gave this image of the problem and the solution, right? The more intense the problem, the better. Now, I don't want you to hurt, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this, but we deal with what is, right? And what we have is we have these layers of defense. I don't even want to go there, right? I'm going to just pretend this is not there. And we can do that for a very long time, but it is still there. Maybe that's an old fear you have, or an old sense of despair, or a sense of abandonment, or betrayal, or whatever it may be, and it's just like, oh, I don't want to go there, right? Well, I honor that. Don't go there. Work with smaller issues and allow yourself to discover that powerful essence in your heart that can take care of those small issues in its own time. And in that way, strengthen your ability to focus in on the heart, to relax enough into the very core of your being. And when you're strong enough with that, this will become clear, and you will know when you're ready to deal with this, with the old nemesis, the old great fear, maybe. There's no need to rush this. There's no need to go into the depths of things. Work with what's available to you and strengthen your access to the heart. You know, it's all about learning to be kind to us. We've all learned, you know, we've been in the school of the tougher I get with myself, the better I will be, because I know already that the way I am is not good enough. Who was in that school? Right? We need to really relearn love. And this is not, has nothing to do with emotions. Love is the state of our being. Love is the most natural thing in the world. It's so natural and it's so everywhere at all times that we don't notice it. It's like they say, fish don't know water. Because what else is there, right? So we are like fish in water, living inside of this love that is everywhere. But we can't sense it there because we've been busy. We've been busy creating problems in our mind. We've been busy reacting to things and carrying old emotional patterns. So we need to have an access point to this, and the access point is here. We cultivate that, and we start, you know, and even, you know, when you just, if you just did this exercise or this meditation and you felt nothing, this is not a lost thing. And don't tell yourself, well, you might tell yourself that you did it wrong or you can't do it or something. Okay, this is just part of the old pattern, right? But you've made an effort. Every effort in this attempt to get in touch with the deepest essence of your being is going to be helpful because it's cumulative. You cannot do that even once and not be benefited by it, although the benefit at first appears to be very small. But you cannot lose with this. Just remember, it has to become a pattern. So when some problem, some pain, some fear arises, welcome it. Say, ah, there you are. Part of me that needs help. I know just what to give to you. And then let that pain, that fear, bring you into the very core of your being. Let it inspire you to seek that place. Let it inspire you to receive this subtle but powerful presence or essence or nectar in the place of the pain. That's so crucial to receive it. And understand that it's completely safe. I have to keep saying that because we're all conditioned to opening my heart. I don't think better not. Right? Because we have this old story that love is something that happens between us and someone else, that can be taken away, that can be betrayed, that can be hurt. But not this love.
I wanted to share when I first started coming here, I had this horrible, horrible physical pain in my stomach. It was like this big rock. I went to doctors and hospitals and had every test imaginable. And we started working with the heart sourcing and open attention. And I would get really settled into my heart. And then it would be like a nectar. And I started coursing it down into my stomach. And you know, at first it was like almost like I hit like a rock with that experience, and then it just started like melting it away, and then it was gone. And it took time and it took practice, but you know, all these, I mean, I went through all these crazy tests and it was all emotions, and through the heart sourcing and open attention, that nectar coming down from my heart just melted away. It was an amazing experience.
And it's good to, if you have a physical issue like that, it's good to get yourself checked out in a medical way, just for the peace of mind. If you know, okay, everything's okay with my stomach, like in your case, then you can focus more fully on that internal work through your emotions and through your heart. And, so that's valuable, because sometimes these things do manifest physically. And then why not use the art of medicine? Why not use what else is available to relieve the pain, I'm saying when there is a pain and you can use it to get yourself to open the heart because of the intensity of this, well, that's great, but that doesn't mean suffer unnecessary pain. If you have something, take a Tylenol or whatever you need to take, it's, of course. But work with the heart as well. Abraham.
I wanted to share one of the skills. I was really, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I really wanted this particular goal, to achieve this particular goal, which was an intellectual goal, a specific designation. I worked years, and it never took place. I kept trying, and one day I said, okay, this is the object of my attention, so I'm going to do the work. So I started questioning all these thoughts, and like what you just said really hit home about bringing light and love to that particular item and actually isolate it. And when I did that, and I isolated that particular set of thoughts, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, or whatever, then he came, because I kind of surrendered to it, and then it just came. I mean, I was able to clearly focus and really get the thing. So it was just a great example. It really hit home.
So, anybody have any problem? Anybody do this and didn't quite work? Anybody have any questions? You gotta come to life a little bit. Everybody's like cruising.
I didn't feel how you said that maybe at the beginning we
A little louder.
that I don't feel like nothing. So
Okay.
I know that I understand that
so-
I have something inside.
Okay,
like
thank you for saying that, because that's very important. There's going to be a lot of people like that, right?
Mhm.
You try this and you don't feel a thing, right? It's because we've been conditioned to have our attention go outward all the time, right? And it's inevitable. This just happens from being born in this world. Your mind connects with your senses, and your senses go naturally outward, right? So our attention is always out there. And so then this word comes and you have an understanding that there's something there, but you can't find it. Well, that's where you have to have some patience. It's like you're starting to learn something completely new. It's like you're starting to learn the piano. Don't expect yourself to sit down and play Beethoven immediately, right? Just do this, right? That's how you start, right? And stay with it and understand, and this is why I said it so clearly, that you, first of all, you've been there. You've had moments of experiencing the heart, right? Even when you were a tiny baby at your mother's breasts, you had that. You had that peace. You had some natural thing. Now, when we're that young, we don't reflect on it. It's just natural. We're just there. We are it. We are that peace. We are that comfort, right? But because we went through it, we may not be aware of it, but it's in us. That it's like a pattern that's there. And that's why you're probably even sitting here and experimenting with this, right? So you can go back to past experiences when you were in love, when you had a moment of peace, a moment of great joy, a moment of being touched by beauty. These moments are moments where you feel that, and it's very subtle, right? I remember the word bliss, right? What the hell is that, right? It's like, yeah, sounds good. I want some of that. Give it to me, but now. And then I was with one of my teachers, and there was a moment when she turned to me. I remember this very clearly. We're driving in a car someplace, and we were both, my teacher and I were hanging out in the back of the car. And she turns to me and she says, boy, you're in bliss. And I'm going like, huh? Oh yeah. Because it was so subtle that I couldn't feel it. So I had to be made aware of that it was already there, right? So in a similar way, I'm pointing to that and I'm saying, well, this is already in you. Just train your mind a little bit. Keep coming back to this just with a visualization. Visualize this point of light. Let it expand, like into a little sun, right? It's just an image. You won't feel a thing, and it's just an image, right? But just work with it, and someday, suddenly, you're going to feel like that sun has some warmth. And you may notice that your body's relaxing as you do this. And you notice, oh, this relaxing is actually the body receiving this essence, right? And then it starts to become something real. So we need to sometimes just be patient and start in small increments. Every person, there's some people who hear this one time and instantly can feel it. It's very powerful for them, right? But most of us, it takes some time. And it took most of you quite some time to even get here, to even hear this kind of approach. You may have done many things of meditation and reading books and all kinds of stuff that were all stepping stones. You've gone through dramas, you've gone through love relationships, all of this, it's like stepping stones to get us here. And now we can go into the place where the most essential essence of love comes into our world, into our lives. We can go into that inner place. So have patience with yourself, at the same time have curiosity. Curiosity, saying, what is that? I want to experience that. And if it's not curiosity, have a desire that comes out of need. And you understand this healing, and you have remembered, you can remember moments when you were in love, or when you were fully present, and everything was okay. Everybody not ever have a moment like that? And you just let down all the worry and the fear and the fretting and the carrying of regrets and all of that stuff, and for a moment just your world is okay. Everyone has had moments like that. Well, do you want to live there? You see? And not only do you want to live there so everything's okay, but do you want to live there and live in this profound sense of loving awareness? Well, that comes from knocking on the door of the heart again and again. And as Jesus knew, if you knock, it will be opened. But you may need a little knocking because of your tendency, the tendency of your mind to run outward, right? So we need to kind of say, wait a minute, come back here. We can keep paying attention to the outer world, but let's have some of it flow inward. And then from inward, we get to heal whatever is wrong in the way we run our lives, or our lives run us. And when that progresses, and it doesn't have to ever be healed, because it can't be healed, because the personality we always have its ups and downs. But now you're in touch with this, and that peace can become increasingly what you live out of. We have this image of the waves on the ocean, the ups and downs of life. And we used to be identified with a drop of water up there in the wave, getting battered around by the storm of life. And then you realize that that drop is water, just like the rest of it. And your awareness begins to shine from the very depth of the ocean that is undisturbed forever. And in this peace, in this calmness, in this completely relaxed, deep inner state, you can allow the waves to do their thing up there on the surface. But you're here. You're here in this space of awareness and love. Yeah.
You know, the word subtle that you use is so important. It's such an important word for me to remember, because I always subtle. Because I always, happy was associated with I'm happy and blah, you know, a heightened emotion. And that's, I'm learning that that's not really what bliss is for me. Like, this is very subtle.
Again, you're talking about an emotion.
Right.
And we're not talking about emotion here. We're talking about sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Sentiment is an interesting word. It's something that we experience directly, we feel, but it's not an emotion. An emotion is of the personality. A sentiment is like a divine feeling. There are these divine sentiments in India, these in the teachings of yoga, of bhakti yoga, these different ways of relating to the divine. You can relate to the divine as your parent. You can relate to the, as this is most common in our Christian culture, right? God the Father. You can relate to the divine as your friend. You can be the parent of the divine, like the Christ child. We have that in our culture. Right? The divine can be a teacher, your master, and you, its servant, his or her servant. And then you can deepen that relationship to this personalized form of divinity, to your Savior, to your God. You can deepen that, deepen that, deepen that. And you can fully live in that. It's wonderful. And then there's just one more step to do. And that is from going from the bhav. The bhava means this divine sentiment, this divine feeling of devotion. So you have cultivated that very deeply. And then there's one more step to do. And you go from these different types of bhav into Mahabhav, the great bhav. And that is the recognition that that God you adore, that divine father, this divine child, this divine friend, this divine parent, is here, that it's been your essence all along. And that is not a loss of a divine lover, but that's the fulfillment. That is what we call the divine marriage. The divine marriage is when you realize that you and the divine are one and the same. And with that, the great, I wanted to say capacity, but it's not capacity because it's just your nature. The nature of yourself opens up, and you will see that you have always been embedded, living in a sea of love. Like I said before, it was so normal you couldn't find it, you couldn't experience it because it's everywhere and in everything. So we have to go through these kind of training steps in order to get to the point where love is all there is. So I found something. Let's just shift the topic completely. I found a translation of Rumi by a translator I didn't know before. His name is Sharam Shiva. And he translated a beautiful little book on Rumi's poems And so it's a very free translation of Rumi. And I took the liberty to change it even more. But it's sort of in this tradition. And I just want to read it to you because it describes kind of what we're doing here. And, well, I'll just read it. This motley gang here, and that includes you online, this is a family of lovers. In this family, there is no high, no low, no smart, no intelligent, no ignorant, no special assembly, no grand discourse, no proper schooling required. Yes, I know, I sit here a lot and I talk, but you know, it's like my experience is that what comes out of here because of you. And although you usually start talking when we shut down the camera and we just hang out afterwards, I know, and you know that, then suddenly everybody's talking and we're having a much more chummy atmosphere. But it's this creating this moment, and I just happen to be one who's the mouthpiece. And then 5 minutes later, you're saying something, and I'm going like, oh wow, and I'm the student. And I just want you to be very clear that this is the way it is, that we are all co-creating this. We are together in this, and this is what we call satsang, spiritual family. So let me start again, because I just destroyed the whole thing. This is a family of lovers. In this family, there is no high, no low, no smart, no ignorant, no special assembly, no grand discourse, no proper schooling required. There's no master who holds power, no disciple who lacks it. This family gathering is more like a drunken party, full of tricksters, fools, mad men and mad women. This is a family of lovers. When my guru would show up in a town, he would roam the country. He had no place where he stayed. He would show up in a town in one of the families of his devotees. And in those days, before the internet and with hardly ever functioning telephones, they had an underground telegraph. They told the kids to go tell the neighbors, and whoever was a devotee of my guru would be informed within a very short time. And they dropped everything they did. And they came to that house where he was. And they just hang out. They would just hang out in this wonderful, profound, divine atmosphere. There was never a teaching. I mean, we have some skills here and some tools because our culture has not served us right. And so we need to communicate what we can do with our places of pain. Right? In India, it's a very different situation. But of course, there was also always help coming, So they would hang out and they would just hang out. A family of lovers. But some of the women wouldn't go. They had a better plan. They stayed at home and they headed for the kitchen and they started cooking a meal. And they put all their love into this meal. And then after a little while, word would come, would you please come to our house? And because of this tremendous love for our guru that they put into this cooking, he couldn't resist. He had to get up. And the whole party shifted over to the next house and everybody got a meal. And then they hung out there for a while, and then word came from another house. Would you come to our house? We want to serve you. And he would get up and everybody would shift the party to the third house. And it's this giving of love. You know, it's like, what does a great saint need? They need something to wear on their bodies and they need food. And so people knew, this is a way I can serve him. This is a way I can give him something that he can take in, that he can take, right? And one night there's somebody counted, actually, he went to 17 houses and had 17 meals. And it's just this giving and taking of love in the form of food in this case. It doesn't have to be food, but food is a great vehicle. You will know how different, when you get that sensitivity going, right? You will know how different it feels to eat in a place where the food was just cooked, or in a place where the food was cooked with love. Very different essence that comes along with it, right? Just like you feel when you're with people, you feel when somebody's just talking to you, sort of person to person about stuff, or when there's a real connection, soul to soul, right? There's somehow, at whatever level, there's a recognition that we are the same. That I can look at your eyes and somehow I recognize myself in those eyes. There's no difference, even though we get to hang out in different bodies. And what a great show it is. We can pretend to be two. Or we can pretend to be many, and in this pretense of being many in those little bodies that serve us for that, we can spread out this field of love, this field of recognition of oneness into a space. What a great thing. A family of lovers. And so other people can come and step into that field and be nurtured by it, and they may not even know what happened. The first time I had that experience, I was it was a rainy, cold night in London. And I had found the only health food restaurant in London in 1972, which was about the size of a shoebox. And I was sitting in there. There was like 3 or 4 tables. And I had just come across Be Here Now, this book. So I had read Ram Dass's story and Maharajji's story. And the door opens, after I was there for like 5 minutes, the door opens and there stands Ram Dass in the doorway. Just like I just read the book, there was the man. In the middle of London, in the middle of God knows where. And he was just beaming light. And he stepped through the door, and with him came a group, I think 15 people who had just arrived the same hour in London as I had come to London from Amsterdam. And the next night we met like this. And we hung out for like 10 minutes, and I talked to Ram Dass, and he gave me the address of where to go in India without telling me what it was, because the word was that the guru didn't see anybody. Don't talk to anybody about me. Don't tell anybody where I am. So he told me about a place to go that was clearly going to lead me there, because he knew this was needed. And in these 10 minutes, I hung out with these 15 people, and there was such love in the space. It was just blowing my mind. It was like, wow. They came in this bubble of love. They brought this bubble of love, right? And then they left, and I somehow, something inside of me knew not to go with them. It was like I had to get just a message. And a year later, I was in India with Maharajji. So, you know, the way people carry love, this is what we're learning here. And we're learning it with us first, because it needs to be established there. We need to get over the fear of love, the fear of opening. We need to know how safe it is. And in fact, the only unsafe thing you can do is not to open your heart to you. The reason why we have fear of opening is because of attachment, not because of love. Love never hurts. So that mechanism is we fall in love with somebody else, and then we think it's all about them. And we start getting attached, and we start getting grabby and possessive. And then that person, of course, leaves. And then we feel hurt, and oh, I'll never open again. And that's just all delusion. Because it's that first breathless moment of opening to love, just like, now what happens there? What happens is that I look at this other person's eyes. If it happens with a person, it doesn't have to happen with a person. We're practicing it just within us, right? So we're a little bit more safe of that delusion that it's about someone else. So what happens, I fall in love with this person and I see, actually, I have a taste of that oneness of souls. And I say souls like it's plural, but there's only one. That's the one being we all are. And we get that taste, and it is just exhilarating. And people change their entire lives for a moment like that. But what happens when attachment sets in, that it immediately starts killing it. Because attachment is the opposite of love. Attachment means now I want you in the way I want you. Love is like, you're amazing, this is just amazing. And nothing needs to be changed, nothing needs to be possessed, nothing, it comes and it goes. It's not personal. Love, real love, is not personal. It's only complete. It's only all-encompassing. It's not personal. The personality grabs what it thinks it's love, but it's possessiveness, it's attachment. And with that, love is lost. And then love becomes just this memory. And I said, I love you because I remember one time I had this really cool experience with you. And now I got attached to you and I don't want to let go because you're my ticket to get it back somehow, someday, somehow. So it's not love that ever hurts us, it's the attachment. And so we practice here this opening to love within ourselves, and that allows us to love each other freely without expecting anything. And Nisargadatta said it so beautifully. He said he changed the direction of his loving from taking to giving. When you give, you discover in you that there is an unlimited supply, absolutely unlimited. And when you realize that, you just want to give more and more and more. You just show me a way I can give. And that starts inside of you with this part of you that's hurting, that's in some kind of need, that needs help. That's a part of you that needs some help. Well, great. I have something to give to something, right? So that's just inside of us. And when that work is done, we go to the next person. We look, where else can I serve? And you realize that when you have somebody who allows you, whose presence allows you an opportunity to serve, what a gift that is. And what do we usually do? Well, I give you this, what am I getting back? I love you, so you love me back. It's not love. It's a horse trade. So now what are we going to do? Just a crazy bunch of mad men and mad women. A family of lovers.
We can sing.
Huh?
We can sing.
That sounds like a great idea. Your turn. Let's sing.
Ciao Marcela. Ouch.
Need help?
It's right here. I'm gonna bring you. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little.
Okay.
Little intermission. So don't get busy in your mind now. Just stay in the space of the heart. It's always there. It's just a space of ease. Can one of you turn this so it's pointing at her? No, 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 no.
I don't need to be.
We don't care what you need. That is a question of generosity.
No, it's
Everybody hears you sing.
It's
They
about
want to see you
singing.
sing.
It's about singing.
I
It's
see.
not about singing.
We're going to have a war about this.
Okay. So music's favorite. Om Aim Saraswati Nama Om. Yeah. Om Aim Saraswati Nama Om. Just that. And we're gonna do it everybody together, so it's not gonna be a call and response. So please join in whenever you wish, and I hope you join in so we can all sing together. Om Aim Saraswataye Nama Om. And we were discussing about this earlier. Can you say a few words about that? You have a better understanding of Saraswati.
Well, there's these different forms of the goddess. There's actually thousands, really, in India. And Saraswati, they all have different functions and different particular aspects. They're just like life. Life is so multifaceted. So the mother, in her many aspects, reflects that multifaceted nature of life. And Saraswati is that force in us that liberates us from that illusion of separate identity, that illusion of being an ego in a bag of skin. And so when Saraswati comes, the work of Kali is done, all the different, sort of gross emotions are cleared out, the Mahesha Sura Mardini, this work of freeing us of the distractedness of mind is complete. And only the most subtle delusion remains, this veil of separateness where we feel I'm here encased in this body and you over there are different. So singing to Saraswati is the evoking of that force that lifts the veil of separation, that can allow us to step into that place of oneness, where you can look at someone else, at anything else really, and experience nothing but this mystical oneness.
With your heart. Saraswataye Namaha. Saraswataye Namaha.
Oh